So I didn't know at the time that I needed an agent to sign a contract.
When I got here, he was still, running things, and I would imagine the first pick overall in the draft, had to have his blessing, and without his blessing, there's no way, I would have been here, and there's no telling what my career would have been if he didn't believe in me. So I always had a great deal of respect for him, from the very start, just giving me an opportunity to live my dream and do something that I was passionate about.
He was a walking historian when it came to the game of football and where it started and how it's been built. And it was always very intriguing and interesting to sit and talk with him. And those were the moments really that we got to be involved with Mr. B, was just around the facility. And I'd always go sit down and chat with him, and same with Pat Tillman. Pat loved to talk to him.
It was great to get to know the humility and the kindness of the man. And of all the things that I got to experience with him, the first Super Bowl together and some of those things, it was those little moments, aside from everything else, that I'll remember with the most fondness.
Patrick Peterson also remembering Bill Bidwell on social media today, and we will have lots more on the 88-year life of the Cardinals owner still to come. In the meantime, as Scott mentioned, we do have a game tomorrow that could have massive implications in the Cardinals division. Rams traveling to Seattle to face the Seahawks. Made the trip today. Omar Ruiz was already there.
The Seahawks have never lost at home on Thursday night under Pete Carroll, whose teams typically excel in prime time. But that'll be the first time in this environment as Seahawks for Pro Bowl pass rusher Ziggy Ansah and Jadeveon Clowney. Clowney told me he's still very much learning this defense, and that slowed him down at times on the field. And while veterans like Bobby Wagner and KJ Wright have certainly helped him, Pete Carroll said that learning is a two-way street.
We're the ones that have to do the learning, and you can do as much as you want in practice, but until you see them, in full flight in games, you don't really know. So we've logged some good information. I think it's going to be a couple more weeks before they're at their best. I hate to say that because we need them right now, but they're going for it, but we'll use them more effectively when we know them even better. So we're working at that.
Carroll, of course, famously finding ways for his players to do what they do best on the field, told me this is a unique circumstance with Ziggy Ansah not playing till week 3 and acquiring Jadeveon Clowney right before the season. Also a reason why the Seahawks are confident their currently 8th-ranked defense will only improve as the season wears on.
Omar, thank you. That's a little on the Seattle defense. How about the Rams offense? Left side of the column there, that's the last 2 years for the Rams. Great offense. 2019 for the Rams, good offense. Not great, though. Maybe quite good, but not the excellence that we are used to seeing. So let's bring in a couple of Super Bowl champions right now and talk about this. Willie McGinnis has 3 Super Bowl rings. That's what these Seahawks and Rams are fighting for, and the rest of the teams. James Jones won his Super Bowl ring in the NFC as well. How do they get back on track on offense here?
I mean, I look at that board. I look at that board and I see 22nd in the
rush. Yeah.
The way you get back to being a dominant offense is you get the ball to Todd Gurley. I understand everybody saying, we want to save him for the playoffs. There is not going to be no playoffs if you do not get this kid the ball. You see him, this does not look like an injured Todd Gurley right here running the football. It looks like a frustrated Todd Gurley. Give me the ball because these are the things that I can do. Let's get back to running the football. When I watch it, does not look like he is injured. He is fighting for every yard. He is running hard. He looks very good. Get him the ball. He makes it easier on everybody on that offense, Jared Goff included. Get him the ball, play action pass, let's run it. When he touches the football 20-plus times, they are 26-8. When he doesn't, they are 9-19.
Wow.
So you can think, okay, we got Jared Goff. We paid him all this money. He's going to take us to the promised land, throwing this football. Cooper Kupp is back. That's not going to happen. The way to winning is getting the ball to Todd Gurley, and you better get it to him fast and in a hurry, because if not, you're going to be looking down on this division, and it's going to be rough for you.
And they haven't been giving him the ball. 15 touches, that's probably the worst in his career. Scrimmage yards, he's down. And then when you talk about rush per carry, it's the worst since 2016. But teams understand that, James. They understand you got to slow him down. So forget me throwing numbers at you. Sarah, run the tape. Let me show you what teams are doing. They're crowding the front. They're making it tough. He loves to get outside. Here's Carl Nassib right here. Wide 9 technique. Take away the outside right now. Make him run through that running lane, which he thinks is a running lane. And then you got 4 guys that's going to converge on him and make the tackle. That's going to the right. Same thing on the left. This time they're going to do it with a cornerback. He's trying to get outside. This is an outside play. The corner comes up right now and dictates where he has to go. Stop your feet from going. Guys, hustle to the football. And not only that, once they get them to be one-dimensional and they stop the running game and they get behind like they did against the Bucs, what are teams doing up front defensively? They're throwing a lot of coverages. They're doing a lot of stunts and things up front to Jared Goff. So when you watch him and you watch what they're trying to do to him, they're loading the box. This is almost 7 guys in the box right here. Levante David looks like he's rushing. He's dropping out. We call that a radar because he's radaring the slant. He throws it right into coverage. He's not reading or understanding what's going on. And then right here, they bring a safety blitz. 8 guys in the box right here, and they're playing man on the back end. So what they're doing is they're playing tight coverage. They're not giving up those big windows that they were doing before. They're putting a lot of guys up front. They're stunting, bringing different guys, whether it's corners, safeties, linebackers, and they're putting the pressure on him, making him make decisions.
Seattle defense, great at home, but just average, statistically speaking. They give up 22 points a game. Maybe this is the week that we see them get on track. That will kick off week number 5. Week number 5 is also the first weekend we see our first international game of 2019. Raiders and Bears live from London. Bears are going to fly to the UK tomorrow. Raiders already practicing there and visiting with some NFL fans overseas right now. Practicing without Vontaze Burfict, who's been suspended for the rest of the year for a series of illegal hits.
It hurts our team really bad. And I'm anxious to see what the appeal says. I'm not happy about it at all. And I don't want to say anything else. I'm obviously upset about it.
As we say, we're all about people, but sometimes we don't get to know people, right? I think he's one of the most misunderstood people in the NFL. I didn't know anything about him except what some friends that were, from LA, played high school football with him, told me, and when he showed up, he quickly turned into one of my favorite teammates I've ever had.
Meanwhile, the Bears are still in Illinois until tomorrow. Stacey Dales is with them.
Week 4 marked the first career game that Bears linebacker Roquan Smith has missed. It was a shocker to all of us. Head coach Matt Nagy has maintained all week, including today, that it's a private and personal matter, and it will be day-to-day moving forward. But very happy to announce that his linebacker would be back in full capacity at practice starting on Wednesday. Now, Smith himself, he was a little bit more committal in terms of his status heading to London. We asked him about his emotions and his expectations to play.
Thank you, but no, I'm good. It was personal. It's behind me, so more so just looking forward to getting better today out at practice and going back to work with my guys.
Do you want to play this week in London against the Oakland Raiders?
We'll play this week.
And again, important to note for clarity, when asked if this was a family matter or a legal matter, Roquan Smith maintained it's been a personal issue. He said, as you can see, I am fine now. I've put this behind me and very excited for his first trip ever to London with his Bears teammates. The team will be traveling on Thursday night of this week with an arrival in the UK on Friday.
That's the defense. Other side of the ball going through some stuff as well. Mitchell Trubisky expected to miss the game with a shoulder injury, which means that we will see Chase Daniel again under center. And he looked pretty good when he came in last week. A completion percentage of 73, a 101 passer rating, threw a touchdown on his first drive. Didn't do anything crazy offensively, but he did get the win. Kurt Warner, how does the quarterback change here change things offensively for Chicago?
Well, this is interesting, Lindsay. It's kind of like a catch-22. When you watch Chase Daniels, you expect, and I expect him to make more plays for them offensively, to be able to do more in the passing game than Mitch Trubisky had done up to this point. But with doing more, you're going to take more chances. You're going to be throwing the football a little bit more, which could obviously also lead to more turnovers. And that's where the catch-22 comes in, because we know how good their defense is. And the only thing you don't want to do against this defense is give the other team short field. So he'll make more plays. The key is that he doesn't make more mistakes and put them in harm's way a little bit more.
Curious to see if the running backs see any more stacked boxes this week. That's been the case in the past when Daniels has been in. And speaking of Daniels, Mr. Jones in New York has won it 2 straight. He gets Golden Tate back this week, but he's got a pretty tough defense in Minnesota. What's the best way for him to attack it?
Well, I mean, the best way, understanding they've got a good front and a good back end, is drop back and get the ball out of your hands as early and often as you can. But the only way, I think, to really have true success against this defense is you have to loosen them up by taking shots down the field. Now, you can't make a steady diet of it because they can get after you up front and they'll bring some different blitzes, but they're so aggressive on the back end that they present opportunities for you to hit big plays over the top of them. That's always the key. If you can hit a couple big plays, loosen them up, better chance to succeed against the Mike Zimmer defense.
Rookie quarterbacks 3-5 against the Vikings since Zimmer became head coach. No rookies in your top 5 quarterbacks this week. We'll see who did make the cut coming up.
Lindsay, time for some latest headlines now. Sam Darnold practiced today for the first time since being diagnosed with mono. Darnold has not been cleared for contact yet, but there's a chance that that could happen by Friday. That's his next scheduled medical exam. Adam Gase did not say who his starting quarterback will be for Sunday's game against the Eagles. Tyreek Hill back at practice today for the first time since the season opener. Hill coming back from a collarbone injury. Andy Reid says he wants to wait and see how the week of practice goes before he decides if Hill will play on Sunday. Speaking of the Chiefs, did you see this during the game against the Lions on Sunday? On this play here, Patrick Mahomes scrambling for a first down, but he turns and looks back at the referee for a moment. Well, today he explained what was going on there.
I looked back to see if there was a penalty, and I saw that I had the room to run and I could probably get the first down, but I didn't want to run like 50 yards if I was going to get called back and have to run another play. So I kind of just looked back to see if there was a penalty, realized there wasn't one, so I just kind of took off.
Crazy next-level field awareness by Mahomes. In Jacksonville, Jalen Ramsey did not practice today. The team says it's the same back injury that caused him to miss Sunday's game against the Broncos. Ramsey has missed more than a week of practices for various reasons. He requested a trade a little over 2 weeks ago. And some injury news and notes here. The Patriots are looking for a new kicker. Steven Gostkowski has a hip injury. He was put on IR. Pats are trying out some different kickers. John Ross has been placed on IR with a shoulder injury. Josh Gordon, a knee, is limited in practice today. Josh Allen still in concussion protocols.
Devontae Adams out at Packers practice today, but not participating. Spotted in green and black sweats, testing out the toe rather gingerly. According to the Packers, he's got a turf toe injury. Brian Bulaga was out there at practice. That's big for Aaron Rodgers, who didn't have him for a good portion of last week's game against the Eagles and is preparing to face a pretty good pass rush this week in Dallas.
He's just a great football player. He's among the best quarterbacks I've ever played in this league, and he's been playing at an incredibly high level really throughout his career. And we've had some great battles against him. Number of games that came right down to the wire, and he's certainly made a big impact on the game. So hold him in the highest regard. I've been around him at Pro Bowls before, and just he's a real pro. He wants to play the game at a high level. He's been a great leader for that franchise and a great player for a long time.
I think we're a different offense right now as opposed to week one. But again, you still got to go out there and do it. You can't talk about it. You got to be about it. And so. And then when you're doing it against such a quality opponent like that, the Cowboys defense is pretty legitimate. I think you look at their numbers; they're in the top in all the categories. So we're going to have our hands full for sure.
They're two of the best teams in the NFC. Packers, Cowboys, both 3-1, both coming off losses. Aaron Rodgers has never lost at AT&T Stadium, where I think you have some good memories as well, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
A little Super Bowl win there. What's it going to take for your Packers to win this one in Dallas? Give me a matchup to watch.
First and foremost, Devontae might not play, but he cannot help stop the run. They have to come into this building and stop Ezekiel Elliott. If they don't, it's going to be a very long day for the Green Bay Packers and this defense. If you watch these runs from last week when they played on Thursday night, these holes, they still have their flags on. They are not touched until they are 5-10 yards down the field.
I thought it was a towel.
You better believe if Zeke sees these holes, it's going to be a long day for the Packers and this defense. They have to get this figured out and stop the run. And if they can stop the run and force Dak to throw the football, our secondary is a strong part of our team. Let them run around, let them guard them guys, and let them get their hands on some balls. But it starts up front with the front seven. You have to stop Zeke. If you let this happen, what Jordan Howard did to them last week, it's going to be a long day, and it's going to be a big day for the Cowboys. So we have to figure out a way to stop him if they want to win this game.
No Tyron Smith this week on the Cowboys O-line. They didn't have La'el Collins at practice either. They did have Michael Gallup, so he might return. What do you have your eye on here?
Yeah, certainly up front. I mean, I agree with James. The Dallas Cowboys, their ability to run the football is what sets the table for everything offensively. Yeah. And the fact that Zeke Elliott was held to 35 yards rushing in that game, that changed everything. Now third down is harder, puts more pressure on Dak. So for this Cowboys offensive line, if you don't have Tyron Smith now, Cam Fleming coming in, the guy that everybody has to find when they break the huddle is Zadarius Smith. And this guy right here, he has wrecked games. Look at him against the right tackle right here, just pushing the pocket, collapsing. He's got 15 pressures this season. Now he flipped him over to the other side, so he gets bi-coastal. And here he is against the left tackle, Garrett Bowles, creating a sack, almost getting a fumble out. You could even move him inside. Here he is over the left guard. So Zadarius Smith, he could do it all, and Mike Penn's going to find a way to move him around. Connor Williams has struggled whenever it's been a defensive end, a quick jump around guy that moves down. And you mentioned La'el Collins on the other side. La'el Collins has been phenomenal this season, but that will be a great matchup to see him against Zadarius Smith. And I think obviously for them, for Green Bay, they want to slow that run game down, so they have a chance to get after Dak, because Dak will hold on to that ball.
Absolutely.
Dak pressured on 35% of his dropbacks last week, had a passer rating of 35 on those plays. This game, one of just 2 in the afternoon window. It's a national broadcast, so we'll all get to see it. That is on Fox. Well, after trading Khalil Mack, John Gruden famously said, good pass rushers are hard to find. Sunday in Oakland, Chucky will find one. Lined up against him, in the mood for revenge. After the break, why getting it is almost guaranteed.
Oh, Jameis Winston coming off a big game in the win over the Rams. 385 yards passing, 4 touchdowns for the Buccaneers quarterback. And now it's a game against the Saints. A win in New Orleans would put the Buccaneers in first place in the division. Take a look at the current standings in the NFC South. So the Saints are on top right now, and if the Saints win that game, they'll stay there. But if the Bucs beat them, they'll be 3-2. And even if the Panthers win to go to 3-2, Bucs have the tiebreaker over the Panthers and Saints. Most importantly, Willie, who's going to be in first place after all these games this weekend?
Scott, I think there's a new king in the NFC South. You are not going to beat the Tampa Bay Bucs right now by only scoring 12 points. And if you take us since Teddy Bridgewater has been scoring, it's been 18 points. They have a lot of explosive plays. They're hitting Evans down the field. Godwin is one of those guys that's come out of nowhere, who's probably one of his very best receivers. And then if you flip it on the other side of the ball, Todd Bowles is doing a great job of taking teams' run games away, putting pressure on the quarterbacks, and creating turnovers. So I would say, Scott, that this may be a tough game for the Saints to even win at home.
Wow, and that's what happened last year. The Buccaneers beat them in the Superdome. Let's go to the AFC North now, and the first place Cleveland Browns. Baker Mayfield and the guys put up 40 points against the Ravens and went into Baltimore and got that W, something that at least one of us saw happening last week.
So listen, it's been a rough start, all right? 1-2, that's all good. W right here.
What?
Okay?
What?
W right there. All right?
How?
W.
Wait, you
right
can't just
there, okay?
walk right by
Wait,
the Ravens?
Listen, this right here, we coming off this loss. We played terrible. Still had an opportunity to win this game against a good ball club. We get it together. We're a couple plays away. We make these plays this week, win that game.
All right, you called it, JJ. How about the Browns against the 3-0 Niners this week?
I'm not going to say I told you so, but I told you so. The Cleveland Browns are this close to being special. They have so many weapons, especially on the offensive side of the ball. When they get it clicking and get it rolling, it's going to be dangerous. But on the defensive end, they are getting takeaways. This is a dominant defense. They got the pass rushers to get after the quarterback, and they're getting their hands on footballs in the back end. The 49ers have 8 turnovers in 3 games, Scott. 8 turnovers in 3 games. This Cleveland Cleveland Browns defense is coming. They are going to give them fits. Even at home, they are going to have a tough time. This is not an upset. The Cleveland Browns are a better football team than the San Francisco 49ers, and they're going to win this game too, just like I told you last week.
We'll see. Niners fans want their respect sitting as the only undefeated team in the NFC. All right, the international game this weekend. Khalil Mack and the Raiders, and the Bears against his old team, the Raiders. He's had it circled on his calendar over a year ago when he was traded to Chicago. So, Sean, what do you expect when it's the return of the Mack?
Well, Scott, well played there, but this is no international man of mystery, all right? Khalil Mack, find him, block him. I don't care if it's one guy or two guys, but don't single up your tackle. I'm going to show you a couple plays that Khalil Mack, you guys have seen what he's done before, but this is what you don't want to do right here, okay? Khalil Mack against your left tackle right here. Don't let him go one-on-one, all right? Don't let him pick on your guy. Look, the Minnesota Vikings right here, I have no idea why you've got Dalvin Cook right here, all right, free releasing. All right, he should be helping Chip right there, but they don't let him chip. They put their left tackle one-on-one, and look at this right here. Khalil Mack's going to dip underneath this punch, all right? He can get low. Here's the athleticism right here of Khalil Mack, and then he's going to do what he does best. The sack, the forced fumble. He's got 10 of them over the last 2 years. Khalil Mack, so what are you going to do, all right? We're not going to go one-on-one. We're going to go slide protection. This is knockdown protection right here, all right? Full slide. Everybody, right tackle, right guard, center, left guard. We're sliding to give our left tackle help, all right? Even though they're sliding. I want you to watch this right here, okay? This guy right here, the left guard, he's coming over here to help out. I got you, brother. I got your inside. Khalil Mack don't care. I showed you the speed. Now look at the power. With both hands on the left tackle, he's still going to power through this double team and create this sack right here between he and Roy Robertson-Harris. Finishing off the quarterback is what he does best. And contrary to popular belief, Lindsay, good pass rushers, they're not hard to find. They're wearing number 52. And when you break the huddle, find them, block them. Doesn't matter how many guys you have.
Sean, the Cardinals game this weekend will be in Cincinnati, and it will be the first without Bill Bidwill in 87 years. The Cardinals owner, whose family bought the team when he was 1 year old, passed away today in Arizona with family and friends by his side, and his extended Cardinals family offering up remembrances on social media. Larry Fitzgerald tweeting, "The NFL family lost a pioneer today. Bill Bidwill loved the Arizona Cardinals and the great state of Arizona. He paved the way for so many by being on the forefront of giving minorities the opportunity to thrive as coaches and executives in the NFL." And that is just part of the legacy that he leaves behind.
The Cardinals and the Bidwells have been together since 1932. William Bidwell's father, Charles W. Sr., is a member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He saved George Halas's Chicago Bears from creditors in 1931, then purchased the Chicago Cardinals a year later. In 1947, determined to field a winner, he put together the so-called $1 million backfield. Charlie Trippi, number 62, was signed to an unprecedented $100,000 contract.
And here's Charlie Trippi on a 75-yard run for a touchdown. Watch him go, and what a run, the longest of the game.
That year, the Cardinals won their only championship. But sadly, Charles Bidwell wasn't there to see it, as he died before the start of the season. William Bidwell was a ball boy for that championship team. In 1949, he was a star fullback and place kicker for Georgetown Prep and led the team to an undefeated season. He became Cardinals owner in 1962. By then, the team had moved from Chicago to St. Louis. In 1988, the franchise relocated to Arizona. In 1998, the Cardinals won their final 3 games to clinch a wild card spot.
The Cardinals win! The Cardinals are in the playoffs!
After we had finally clinched the playoffs, Mr. Bidwell, our owner, was presented with a game ball. That was probably significant because I think about all the heat that he takes, and for a coach to give him a game ball stands out in my mind right now.
The following week in Dallas, the Cardinals won their first playoff game in 51 years.
Aikman looking. Aikman winds up, throws the ball deep in the middle of the field. It is caught. It is intercepted. And you can turn out the lights in Dallas. And what about those wild cards? No one gave them a chance to win this football game.
In 1996, William turned the day-to-day operations over to his son, Michael, while trying to get a new stadium.
I was a federal prosecutor for 6 years, and I was obviously following the Cardinals very closely, going to games on the weekends, of course. I thought I could help out with the stadium effort. Asked my father if he was interested in having me join, and he was.
In 2006, with Michael now serving as team president, the Cardinals opened University of Phoenix Stadium. The stadium was the site of two of the most exciting Super Bowls of all time, Super Bowl 42 and Super Bowl 49.
Malcolm Butler stepped in front of the throw. No way!
In 2008, the Cardinals won their first division title in 33 years.
Touchdown! NFC West champs! Here they come!
I was a ball boy the last time. I was an 11-year-old ball boy the last time we won a championship.
Right. Good job, Mr. B. Congratulations. Yes, we do.
3 playoff victories later, the Cardinals were champions of the NFC and advanced to the Super Bowl for the first time in team history. The Bidwell story came full circle as William was presented the George Halas Trophy. The Cardinals have now been in Arizona for over 30 years. The Bidwell's NFL legacy, spanning 3 cities, has now lasted 9 decades.
Having the most fun of my life.
I know, I can tell.
We fly around, we make plays, we do what we do, we dominate all game. Stick together, play your ass off, hit him in the mouth.
All right, boys. Got to score to win. Let's go.
Goff has the snap. Pressure from his blind side. He shakes it off. He fires middle. It's caught for the touchdown.
Yep. Let's go. Let's go.
It's that time of the week. Time to talk quarterbacks with Kurt Warner. Kurt's Top 5 presented by Discover. And, man, you've seen a lot of quarterbacks this year. 40 different starters so far. That's the most since 1950. Who stood out in that crowd to you this week?
Well, Lindsay, we had a lot of young guys last week. Unfortunately, none of those guys were able to double down and get on the list this week. And so a lot more of the staples that you might expect to see in this week's Top 5. And starting with, I say the veteran guy, the older guy, even though he's not really that old, out in Seattle, and it's Russell Wilson. He is having, in my opinion, his best season to date, completing almost 73% of his passes, which is just incredible. But the way he finds completions is really just special. His ability to make so many different kinds of throws, especially the throws down the field. And when you look at the team, you go, I don't know who he's even throwing to. It doesn't really matter. He just finds ways to make plays. He gets the number 5 spot on the list. Number 4, again, another savvy veteran, been doing this for a long time and just finds ways to make plays. You watch Phillip Rivers play, and sometimes you go, man, how did he make that throw? The arm angle is here. Or it looks like he's got to get his whole body into it, but he's still playing at an extremely high level, making good decisions, spreading the ball around to all his different playmakers. One guy that I just love to watch compete every single time out. Number 3 on my list is a guy that was called by some people overrated just a week ago. So he goes out to Baltimore and picks them apart for almost 350 yards, and it just seems like every time his back is against the wall or the team's back is against the wall, he steps up and plays his best football, exactly what you want from the quarterback position. Baker Mayfield gets the number 3 spot on the list. Number 2, and not very often do I have quarterbacks that don't win on this list, but if you go back and watch the way Matthew Stafford played this past weekend, I couldn't help but put him on the list and put him all the way up there at number 2. You see the stats there, but it was the nature of the throws, the big-time throws at critical moments that really puts him on the list, and they probably knock off the undefeated Chiefs if it weren't for 2 turnovers tight in the red zone but played an unbelievable football game. And then maybe the best game of this guy's career, Jameis Winston gets him the number 1 spot. I mean, who saw this coming? 50-plus points against the Rams on the road, a defense that has so many different playmakers, but he was in control. He was getting the ball out on time. He knew where he wanted to go with the football. So Jameis Winston gets the number 1 spot this week.
Jameis, 25 years old. He was one of 11 guys to get a win last week that are 26 or younger. It's the season of the young guys, Kurt. And speaking of young guys, I know you coach a little high school ball there in Arizona and were part of a really cool moment in last Friday's game in which a sophomore running back scored a touchdown. Why was this touchdown special, Kurt?
Well, it was special because Adonis Watts, that running back that you're talking about, is blind. And it has been so neat to watch our team and the community come together around him. I mean, he shows up every single morning at 5 o'clock in the morning for our practices. He's going through all the drills. And so to see him get in and score a touchdown in his first varsity high school football game was a pretty incredible moment for all of us that were involved and have watched this amazing young man and what he does on a daily basis.
And that's a sophomore, by the way. This isn't like a senior getting a touchdown run in one of his last games. That's a sophomore. So this guy's clearly good. What a really cool moment for his family there. Thank you so much, Kurt. We'll see you again next week. All right, some ground rules for the first quarter awards. These are not early predictions for who will win MVP, coach, and rookies of the year. These honors are given to the men who deserve them right now. Last rule. If you give an award to Daniel Jones, give him a new nickname while you're at it. That rule's just mine.
You know, the things that he can do with the ball and is very impressive. You just watch and you're like, yeah, I can't do that, but it's fun to see somebody else do that.
They got great hands and they're good receivers. I mean, that's a hell of a combination. They can run. Yeah, I mean, just keep throwing the damn ball to them.
It's just wide open. It's wide open. Anyone can beat anyone any Sunday. So a lot of good teams out there, and we just got to keep staying the course.
How many people do you figure you've inspired to grow mustaches over the years?
Too many. There's a lot of bad mustaches out there right now.
We're playing good, but it's what we're going to do this week. Goody, our offensive line coach, had an old Janet Jackson quote, what have you done for me lately?
I hate when I play against them, but I love watching them play against other teams.
The injury report will be out later today. You guys just can't help yourself, man. I know, I hear you. I respect it.
You're not rated until you beat the Steelers.
I ain't paying attention to that.
No, they actually don't do that. We're going to hand out first quarter awards,
First quarter,
gentlemen.
there we go.
First quarter awards. As if the season was done after 4 games, who is the offensive rookie of the year, JJ?
This is easy for me, and I got to go Daniel Jones. Listen, this team was 0-2. You changed one guy. You didn't change nothing else. You changed one guy, and now this team
lost Saquon Barkley
has won 2 games in a row strictly off this kid's right arm and him making big-time throws and then making plays like this with his legs. To me, this is easy. Daniel Jones, man, he's changing the season around for the Giants, man. 2 straight wins. He's out there balling.
Buccaneers' fourth quarter was one of the best in the season so far. Defensive rookie of the year, who you got your eye on?
How about Devin Bush? He wears the double nickel, so I got to give him a little bit of love. But not only that, he has high production. Here's a guy with 37 tackles. He has a sack, had his first sack last week. And a guy that you can leave on the field. He's a field general. He's great in space. He's been able to identify the plays. You can bring him on the rushes like this. You can use him in coverage. And he is very smart, and he gets to the ball with bad intentions. I love this young kid.